Hey everyone, welcome to a new week of Unscrambled Faith. I'm your host, Payne Clark, and I'm gonna go and say happy September. Yes, as I'm recording this, we are currently going into, I believe, almost the second week of September, pretty soon. This is, technically the first week, but it's about like midweek right now that I'm recording this, I believe. But I'm super excited to be here, and I just hope as you're listening to this, or if you're watching the full video, that hopefully you're having a great start to your September as well. Before we get started, one of the things that I will say that I'm very excited about is so I live in South Texas, and I am loving, knock on wood, I don't have wood anywhere in my office, but I'm just gonna imagine that I do. So I'm gonna go knock on my desk. But I'm loving the cool weather. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I am not complaining. In fact, today I think it was like mid 80s, and I don't even remember the last time it was like that. Some point last year, but it just feels like it was just so far long ago. But I'm enjoying the weather. And if you have the pleasure of watching me on YouTube with the full video, you can see the shirt that I'm currently rocking. I did a post, I shared a post like a couple weeks ago or so. I was looking through photos of myself from my childhood, and I say that because I recently celebrated my birthday. Yes, I celebrated my birthday, officially 37, which is pretty fun when I think about it. And my friends and I were getting together to celebrate my birthday. We were doing kind of like this nostalgia 90s theme, and we had so much fun because we dressed up as like a version of ourselves from like childhood. So that's why I was looking at photos of myself from back then. And I happened to come across a yearbook photo of myself of going through an awkward phase, like I feel like we all do at some point in our lifetime. And this specific photo, funny enough, reminded me of all people, the character on Bob's Burger, otherwise known as Tina Belcher. So it's kind of a running funny moment with myself and my friends and my family members at this point, because my personality when I'm not behind the camera is like that. Very awkward, kind of hard to read. And I, a lot of times, there's certain, just personality traits and things that Tina Belcher says that I would say that it's kind of like my spirit animal, I'll say. So I found this little nifty shirt. Like I said, if you're lucky enough to watch the full video, you can see the shirt that I'm talking about. It's hilarious. I love it. It's also purple, which, I love all colors. I love a rainbow in general, but this shade of purple is actually a lot of fun, and it's super comfortable, so win-win all around. But I'm loving it. I love it so much, and in fact, it seriously came in the mail yesterday, and I immediately had to get out of the package and wear it, so here we are. So I know I usually brag about, and show off my earrings, but you know what? This week we're talking about my shirt and my headband, because also, like I said, I celebrated my birthday on the 1st of September, so happy belated birthday, and shout out to all my Virgos out there that are currently listening. And my headband is spooky bedazzled themed. I love Halloween. I love all things spooky, ghost, all that comes with it, all the good stuff, all the fun. And my friends that I get together with on a monthly basis, we have like a girls' night once a month, and they surprised me with this headband. So they really truly know me. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm probably going to be seen wearing this headband every other day. So be prepared. If I record the next podcast and you catch the video and I happen to be wearing the same headband, don't worry about it. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's podcast. I know last time I shared with y'all where I'm at, like, business-wise. I've taken on recently a new business venture that I'm very excited about. And I am having so much fun with it. It's my new basket gift box business, like curating basket themes. I love a good theme, and I specifically love basically being like a personal shopper for somebody, but more importantly, I love being able to put love and effort and time, not only into a basket, but something that's more importantly like curated, and everything in it is something that one specific person is going to love, and or there's a theme that somebody can relate to, or otherwise it's like for a special occasion or like a blessing box or whatever the case may be. But I just love putting like my heart and soul into something, and for it to otherwise in return be a not only like a box or a basket of filled with love and care, but effort. And because I don't know about y'all, but when I have like for well, I mean, speaking of like my birthday, so for example, my two really great girlfriends, they got together and they surprised me with this gift bag, right? And in the gift bag was individually curated items, just like I kind of do in my own business, A Touch of Melba Jean. Like it's the same concept where they had these individual gifts that they collaborated on, that they put together in this bag, and every single thing in there to a T was me. Like if anyone, like if you didn't have a conversation with me and somebody was like, hey, tell me a little bit about Megan Clark, and I shared this like video or this photo or video, of all of the birthday gifts that I got, then someone really wouldn't even have to like meet me per se unless they wanted to, like, because all the items in that bag described me, which was so fun. It was so cool. I absolutely loved it. So business is going great and it's thriving. I'm having a lot of fun with it. What's interesting is with the business that I'm in the middle of right now, along with my other things that I do on the side, because I do have a couple. I don't know if I would really consider myself like an entrepreneur. Like that's not really me. The name, just like that title or whatever, just doesn't really sit well with me. But I do have multiple businesses. I like having multiple things going on in my life, and I feel like that's where we're going to segue into like this week's conversation is for somebody who maybe has like, maybe you're like me, maybe you have multiple jobs, or you're a business owner of sorts, or it could be that you have a hobby or a craft or a talent, a creative side, mind you, something that you're doing that you're passionate about. It doesn't really matter like what it is specifically, but if there's something that you're either passionate about, or you're a business owner, or something that maybe, like I said, like a hobby, something that you do on the side, that is who I'm speaking to specifically this week. So for this week, one of the things that I had talked about recently with some of my friends, including my therapist, was the in-depth layers, story behind the scenes when it comes to what we're doing in our lives, like in our day-to-day. Like for example, like I said, like I've got two businesses and I do other things on the side. Like I deliver groceries for extra income, and I deliver orders, other different types of orders for extra income, and any opportunity that I can get where I can make a little like side cash, or two businesses that I own, things like that. Doing this podcast, for example, and I love creating social content, things like that. There's passion behind it, right? There's drive. I have a story. Everybody has a story. And I feel like it's important for us to not only like reflect on that story ourselves, but make sure that we're documenting like behind the scenes as we're going along as business owners, as creative artists. And that's where we're going to segue into this week's conversation. So welcome to Unscrambled Faith. In case you are listening to me for the very first time, I'm your host, Megan Clark. And again, I'm just so thankful that you're hanging out with me. Hopefully you're getting cozy. Hopefully you're like myself. I've got my sparkling water. In fact, I've got a koozie on it right now from a business that I just actually ordered from locally from one of my boxes. But I'm currently drinking Olipop, the lemon lime. To me, it's I know it's not the same, so don't get too upset. I know it's not the same as like Sprite, okay, but it's healthier. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to make better decisions. So that's where we're at with that. Also, shout out to Necessaries. I just think that's really cute. Necessaries. She's local to me, Texas City. However, she does have a website and an Etsy shop, I believe, online. But Necessaries by Megan, and it yes, you are correct. It is spelled just like me, so Meagan. In fact, if you want to take a screenshot, this is her, that's her QR code right there, if you want to take a screenshot of that. But otherwise, her website is necessariesbymegan.com. She's got some really cute things. She's mostly, it looks like accessories, headbands. I wish I actually had it right by me, but she does a lot of like, I think she also will do like custom work if I'm not mistaken, but she does do a lot of like local, like high school, college, if there's any kind of like school design, school colors, school spirit pride, that kind of sorts. Super talented, really cute stuff. So shout out to her. So if you're, especially right now, because currently in my town, we are in the thick of homecoming week currently. So if that is something that you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, we are too. Or if you're in a city like I am where we eat, breathe, sleep football in the South, or if you maybe even perhaps know somebody that is like junior high, middle school, high school, highly encourage you to hit up her website, check it out, because she's got some really cute stuff. Anywho, let's go ahead and keep trucking on. So this week, like I said, we're going to be diving a little bit more into something that's been on my heart this week that I want to share with you guys. I want to discuss. This is definitely something that, not right now, but further in, you might want to grab like a pen and paper. So if you're listening to me and you're in the car, you've got plenty of time. Don't worry. But I'm very excited about this. So, you know, one thing that I was thinking about over the course of like this last like couple, like at least last week or two, is, you know, I think I was thinking about like how it was for me in my life like last year around this time. So being a business owner during the almost busiest season of the year. So like we are on the brink of like fall, autumn weather, holidays are coming up, all these special things are happening. And in my line of work, I typically, as of right now, like the first week of September, would normally be burning it from both ends. And I would have this mindset of just rush and stress. And even though it's like the first week of the month, first week of September, my mindset would normally be, it's the middle of the month, I'm running out of time. And I wouldn't feel otherwise that I have like completed what I needed to do for the day, feeling like I'm successful, feeling like I've done enough until I'm mentally and physically exhausted. So that was me last year and even before that. But specifically, I was thinking of last year around this time, that like where I was at, right? Like my mental state, my physical state, that I would be working from sun up to sundown doing different things, but all the things, right? And just doing the most. And what's interesting is even though I do have more on my plate business wise this year than I did last year, because last year it was just one business only. But this year I'm juggling two businesses of my own that I currently own, but then I also have two side gigs that I'm doing as well periodically through the week. So with juggling those things on top of everything else, right? Everything else, being a spouse, having my fur babies, paying the bills, showing up for myself mentally, all the things, right? All the stuff that we do, all the hats that we wear. So on top of all that, I do have more responsibility this year. However, I am more structured. I have more, I have lists, I have checklists, I have calendars that I abide by. And it's just very interesting how this wasn't really something that I thought about like the beginning of this year. Like, oh, I want to be more organized. Like, who doesn't want to be more organized, right? Or I want to be like stress free. This is how I want my year to look. I mean, yes, I thought about it here and there, but it wasn't something that I intentionally did. It's almost like it's very beautiful how it's coming together. It's just kind of like falling into place. But this year and this season and this month, I'm realizing, and I had this moment of clarity in therapy today, that I'm not overdoing it. And I just love how everything, like I said, is falling into place just summing up my experiences, like with my business, the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I'm loving to do. I'm also finding time because I feel like I'm a little bit more organized, because I'm not, I will say that like last year I was doing, and before that, I would do normally around this time of year a lot of like busy work. Things that I feel like mentally, because I was doing a lot, I was doing the most. It felt like I was doing, like, I need to keep doing this. Like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to see results. I just got to keep doing it. I got to keep working it. I got to keep showing up, all the things. But what I realized in the long run, especially specifically looking back and reflecting being the key word, back on this last year as compared to now and where I was at, there was so much that I was doing that I would say was like busy work. Again, like burning from both ends, doing a lot of unnecessary fluff in my life, whether it didn't matter what I was doing, but it was like I was just doing an excess amount. And instead of like stretching things out where I could like, okay, do a couple things today, do a couple things tomorrow. It wasn't like that last year. And this year it's very different because I do have like checklists. So like, for example, I have an agenda, like I'm looking at it right now, and it has like just solely for the month of September, in both of my businesses that I own. I have every other day, it's like 2 to 3 things to do. Once I'm like, I don't know if y'all are like this, but I love checking things off. I feel fulfilled. I get like a dopamine hit, right? So I check it off or I mark it out. And then what's incredible, for example, is I woke up fairly earlier than I usually do this morning, and I got all these things done. I got my checklist done. It was pretty incredible because I have therapy like mid-afternoon, and I was already done with what I needed to do work-wise for the day before I even had therapy. And y'all, most of the time that doesn't happen. Normally I have to get to, like last year I would have been like, okay, let me hit pause, let me go to therapy, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to pick back up where I left off. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't like leaving unfinished business in my office, in my space, even in my house. Now, cleaning, oh, I can definitely leave that. I can definitely put pause. I can definitely come back to that another time. I can certainly hit the button on the dryer one more time. If you know, where are my people at? I can hit it multiple times. Yes, I know. Shouldn't do that, but we do, right? Some things like that we just have to do. However, when it comes to my office work, it just irked me. I don't know if it was like my neurodivergent brain or my work ethic, who knows. But like last year and before, I just couldn't ultimately like put pause on something and just like pick it back up the next day. So now, like today, like for example, like I said, put it in perspective because I had a super productive morning. I didn't overdo it. I did my checklist, and today was just 2 things. I know, shocking. 2 things, 1 thing each in both of my businesses, followed up with a couple people, and that's that. And I was like, it felt incredible. It felt amazing. But at the same time, it was like, wait a minute, there should be like more for me to do. But funny enough, like the things that I otherwise wanted to get done today, I'm, for different reasons, am not going to be even able to like approach until tomorrow or like 2 days from now, which I found very amusing. And I feel like as creative artists and as business owners, we often get caught up in the what's next. Like literally, like what I was just saying, right? Like I got done what I needed to do. It didn't feel like it was enough. I was like, what am I going to do with all this free time? I mean, in retrospect, it wasn't really like free time per se, because there's always things to do, right? I can always find something to do around the house. There's always something to do. But what's interesting is like, I was like, well, what's next? There's something more that I need to do. And the funny part is that not really, because the things that I otherwise could be doing would be perfectly fine doing tomorrow or doing the next day. But I think it's equally important for us to pause and really take time to look how far we've come and what has gone in to our journey so far. So just like I was saying, like I, over the last week or 2, have done reflecting on where I've come, how different in retrospect, like my life was last year as a business owner as compared to now. Here are a few things that I not only have been thinking about this week, but I wanted to share with you, and I felt like we can sit with today and like marinate in it, right? And sit a little bit and reflect. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot in this week's podcast. For example, the power of reflection in your journey. I told you I was going to say that again. Didn't expect it so soon, but I told you I was going to say that word again. Taking time. So what does that look like? It's going to be like taking time to look back at like where we started, right? So whether you are a business owner, whether you're a creative artist, whatever that may look like for you, do you ultimately, or have you at one point or another, taken the time to look back at where you started? Have you thought about the obstacles that you went through, that you experienced, that you've overcome to get to where you are today? Have you even thought about the progress that you've made as both a business owner and a creative artist? Have you thought about that? I think it's important to. Like one of the things I was talking to my therapist about today, because my therapist is a creative artist, and on my end, I'm a business owner. She's a business owner too. They're a business owner. But, like as we were talking in our conversation today, I couldn't help but think about that it's important for us to, for one, look back on where we've come, right? Mentally take note of that, but document it as well. It's going to look different for everybody. It could be like, for example, like what I'm doing right now with this podcast. It could be that you maybe start jotting your ideas and thoughts down in a journal. Maybe some point later down the line, it becomes a book. It could be that you're interviewed by somebody else on their own podcast. Could be maybe if you have a channel on a social platform, going live, going on there, sharing your story there. I think it's important for us to document this, no matter what that looks like, no matter how we document it, wherever you do that at or what it looks like. But it's important for us to do so, because think about those that are not only watching us from the shadows, right? Not to sound all spooky like, but to think about those that specifically in our lives, but like social media, the ones that lurk, the ones that are watching us from a distance in a positive way. So the ones that they don't necessarily interact with us, but they're watching, they're going along with us like on our journey, right? Or maybe perhaps that they've been little pebbles along the way that have otherwise inspired us to maybe write a song or paint a painting, or maybe come up with an idea, something to talk about on a podcast, or maybe it could be a business idea, a business venture, or, whatever the case may be. But it's important for us to document our journey and share behind the scenes and the inspiration behind what we do. Like, for example, the last time I did, the last podcast that I recorded, that I shared a little bit and more in depth about my late grandmother, Melva Jean, and the inspiration that she has over me for me to be able to start up this incredible journey of this new business of mine, this new business venture, and how she's, the core of the inspiration behind my business, and, the legacy that I want to carry on with her. Those are the things that are important for us to share, because, think about, like, what if somebody was to come across a video you created, or a song that you wrote, or music that you've written, that you've composed, or a painting that you did, or whatever the case may be, something you've created, a business that you started. Why would you not want to walk somebody like through the journey, especially for somebody that maybe perhaps wants to otherwise figure out, like, where do I get started? I want to do something similar. They're inspired by you. I certainly don't want somebody to go on the assumption that I have always been the version that I am now, the person I am now, that I've always been this way. That, everything must come natural to her, or everything, like, her life is great. Her life must have always been great. I don't want individuals to like assume these things about me, because I want them to know that there are layers within my life, right? That I'm a very multifaceted person. I like to believe that everybody has layers to them. And why would we not want to bring somebody along the journey of where it all started to where we are now? Now, obviously, that's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it is important for us to do that, not only for our sake, for us to have clarity, for us to feel that what we're doing has value, that we are worthy, that when we wake up one day and we're like, is it even worth it? Has it been for nothing? That's why we want to document the journey that we've been on. Because in that way, in those moments when we're either second guessing ourselves, or we feel less than, or we're ready to just throw in the towel, call it quits, documenting your story, your journey that you've been through, all of the layers that you have worked tirelessly through, all of the work that has been behind the scenes to get to where you are now, whether it's through your mental health journey, whether it's physical health, whether it's spiritual, business owner, creative process, whatever that is, friend, document it, because not only is your future self going to thank you for that, but those that are going to cross your path at a later time, whether you know it or not, that's going to be important, because you want them to know what's possible, for one, but also to be very self-aware that it doesn't happen overnight. Something hasn't come necessarily easy to you. That the work, like to me, the cheddar, the work behind the scenes, that is what I talk about the most. That is what I should want to share. Anyone can share their successes, but it's the failures, it's the times that we've had where there's lulls, downtimes in between our spiritual gifts, our artistry, our businesses, when there's dips in our businesses, when there's the unknown. Those are the things that we want to share, because not everybody is privy to that. I realize that not everybody has that privilege to be able to see behind the scenes, but how intimate is that, right? Like how intimate, how sacred is that, to be able to know that there are individuals that you can bring into that safe space. It's important for us to make sure that, again, that we're showing behind the scenes, that we're acknowledging the trial and errors, the lessons that shaped us, because the process is just as important as the end result. Again, anybody can share the end result. Anybody can share the success. That's the exciting part, right? But where we're going to inspire more, where we're going to bring more of a Christ-like vision for us to be able to bring more light and faith into others' lives, is to take them along the journey of the process that it got for you from point A to where you're at now. Storytelling is a gift in itself. For us to be able to pour out into others, to fill others' cups, for us to be able to get to a place where we're comfortable and we feel safe enough to open up to the very depths of who we are, what has inspired us, again, like the hard work, the behind the scenes, the crooks and crannies within our soul, the layers within our depths of our minds. When we're able to share and expose that to those that are otherwise interested, or for us just to be able to put it out there for whoever may connect with it. That's the important part. That, to me, is the biggest gift of all, is the storytelling behind who we are as individuals. It is very important for us to share the why behind our work, because it's going to add depth to what we've not only created, but it's also going to allow others to connect with our heart and ultimately our soul's purpose. By doing this, we are going to have you have the capability of being able to impact others beyond just what we see. that's the legacy, right? Like that's the legacy in itself. No matter what it is, again, whether you're like myself, like a business owner, or you're like my friends who are like creative artists, whatever registers with you, whoever you are, your impact of what you're doing right now is going to go beyond just what you see on a day-to-day basis. It's what impact are you going to want to leave when it's all said and done? Even when it feels like no one's watching. That I just want to pause there because that to me is so important. I can't even tell y'all how many times I've had to remind myself, at least, I mean, years, but more importantly, I can think about specifically in like the last year or two, how many times that I get like this dopamine feeling and I get excited whenever like I do something nice for somebody and I want to tell somebody about it, or I want to post on social media, or like maybe I'm doing something anonymously and I want credit for it because I'm only human, right? But for me and you, what's more important is the behind the scenes, because it's the moments that God sees what we're doing when we're not boasting about it. Because as to be Christ-like, to be the hands and feet of Jesus, it's important for us to make sure that we're doing things for the greater common good, that we're not doing it to get the credit. I don't even think I know that that's something that we're all guilty of. I know there are a lot of times where I'll post on social media, whatever platform I'm on, and as much as I want to just post and like walk away, every now and then I'm like, man, that was really good. And I go back and I'm like, how many likes did I get? Or how many views have I gotten? And I don't even let it sit for a while. A lot of times I'll refresh it and I'm like thinking like in my mind, I'm almost fooling myself, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this content, this video, this reel, this post was so good. Oh my gosh, all the people I can't just wait to see who else is going to find it funny or who else is going to like it. Instead of doing it like just for the sake of doing it, for showing up for myself or showing up for others, to instead of being more focused on what does God think, instead of for me being like, okay, I did what was asked of me, I did what I need to do, and then I'm going to move on to the next thing. That to me is more important. It's the moments when we feel like that no one is watching, we want people to see what we're doing, right? Like most of the time, right? Not all the time, most of the time, we want to brag on ourselves. A lot of times we struggle to brag on ourselves. But like when we have something exciting, maybe a breakthrough, or maybe there's a creative moment that we've had that we want to share with somebody else. I feel like that's the hardest, is for us to like keep those certain things like to ourselves, or like we're again working behind the scenes, because sometimes we just ultimately want credit for what hard work that we're doing behind the scenes, like the efforts that we're doing. We just want credit for it, or we just want to say like a token of appreciation, right? Or a thank you, or I see you, because we're only, again, going back to like the fact that we're only human, so we want to be seen, loved, and heard. Seen, loved, and heard. But it's important for us to keep doing what we're doing, whether it's creatively or as business owners, no matter if somebody sees what we're doing or not. Because the important part is that we're showing up, more importantly, for ourselves, right? We're showing up for ourselves in those moments. But then also, it's just, to me, it's like this all-powerful, all special, incredible feeling of that I'm doing this for the greater common good. And I'm putting it out into the universe. And I don't know what's to become of it. I don't know the impact that I'm going to have. But to me, that is far more greater, far more powerful than any like, view, share in a matter of seconds to like a 24-hour period. Like the longevity effect that I can have on somebody's life a small gesture to me that's going to make a grander impact with somebody else down the line, that to me is far more worth it than anything that's going to happen like in a quick, like small moment of time. A lot of times when we show up and we share our stories and behind the scenes and the not so pretty, squeaky clean parts of ourselves, we don't know, ultimately at the end of the day, we don't know that that could one day be the spark of encouragement that somebody needs otherwise in their life. Especially for somebody that needed that specifically, like in their own journey, in their own walk. Give you an example. I had somebody that I hadn't spoken to in probably at least a year, maybe 2 years. She and I were for a while working under the same team together, or the same business. And I hadn't spoken to her, like I said, in close to about 2 years or so, give or take. And, you know, again, I'm only human. So at the time that this person and I were, I would say, fairly close. Like we went out to lunch occasionally. We had conversations outside of work that were, not work related. And we got to know each other fairly well. And I felt like we actually had a fairly nice, like, friendship. And there came a point where I just didn't really hear anything from her. I don't want to necessarily say that, like, she, like, completely started ignoring me. But, like, kind of just life happened. But I definitely took it personal for quite some time. I had moments where I was like, what did I do wrong? Did I not say the right thing? Did I offend her? I just didn't know, because I am the type where, like, there are moments where I need that closure. I want that closure. Especially if there's, like, no explanation, like, whatsoever. And, with one of the businesses that I'm in, it almost left me feeling like I wasn't doing enough. That I felt like I was failing this person. That where did I go wrong? That was I doing enough? Was I doing too much? And I feel like sometimes it's easier said than done. Now I'm at a very different place mentally, thank goodness. But 2 years ago, I was definitely taking it hard. I was definitely taking it personal. And I just didn't understand. And, time went on, right? So here we are almost 2 years later. Interesting enough, pretty beautiful. In fact, this individual messaged me, hit me up, and she sent me this incredibly beautiful message. And so many words. It was something along the lines of, hey, I've been watching you through your social content. I just wanted to tell you you're an incredible leader. I respect you. You're doing an incredible job. I love watching what you're doing, etc., etc. Point being, I don't need to go into, like, all of what this person said, but the point being is that I haven't heard from this person in almost 2 years, right? And she was letting me know that I made a significant impact in a positive way on her life. And that hadn't even crossed my mind in the last 2 years. Because here I was on my end thinking like I did something wrong. I offended her. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just not going to hear from you anymore. And I just had to figure out a way to, like, move past it. And I just love so much, again, God's perfect timing, right? She, I love the fact that she reached out to me, that she sent me that message. And it really wasn't one of those, like, hey, let's get together sometime. I'm not that person. I'm not, especially if it's somebody I haven't seen in a while or talked to. Either we're going to get together or we're not. It's not something I'm not the person that's going to, like, force that. Nor am I going to be the one that's going to, like, I don't like awkward small talk. And if somebody reaches out to me like that, I'm like, oh yeah, we should get together for dinner sometime. Well, I haven't talked to you in like 2 years. So I'm definitely not going to be that person. But I love the fact that she did not have to do that. I love the fact that she took the time to message me and poured into my cup. And it just honestly blew my mind, and it just showed me that there are moments where we just, for one, don't know what somebody's going through, but also going back to the fact that it's important for us to continue on sharing our story, showing up for ourselves, because at the end of the day, point taken, we don't know who's watching us, right? We don't know who's listening to us. We don't know who's watching us. And that's perfectly fine. Because I feel like that in order for us to feel like we're making an impact with others in our environment, or that we're inspiring somebody, it's almost like we have to have like this one-on-one reassurance and conversation. And again, going back to like, who's liking my content, who's commenting on my content, who am I talking with in person. This was like a huge moment for me to be like, wow, you just don't know who is watching you and getting inspired and all the things behind the scenes. So I just thought that was really cool. It's important for us to, in our lives, no matter where you're at, no matter what's going on in your life, we all have a legacy that we can leave behind. A legacy that we can leave behind to inspire the generations to come after us. One of the ways that we can do that is ultimately being honest about our story. Everybody has a story. Everyone's story is going to be different from the next person, but we all have a story. We have a story where we can create space for others to step into their calling with courage and ultimately with faith. By showing up and sharing our story, whether it's what inspired you to do what you're doing, what inspired you to become a business owner, what inspired your business, what inspires you on the daily, who inspires you, where have you come from, where are you at now. These are the things that we want to share with others, because it's going to not only encourage and lift somebody up, but I feel like it's going to speak life into them, into their lives, into their hearts, for them to then at that point be called with courage to step up and start their process, start their journey, start their walk. And for them to have faith that they have something to share as well. Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, and this is in the New International Version. I feel like this specific scripture really ties all of this together. And then it says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This scripture is such a powerful reminder that our work isn't just about us or even about our business goals, right? I mean, at face value, sure. Us showing up for our businesses on a day-to-day basis, yes. We're hitting goals. Yes, we are working towards a goal, right? But that's not ultimately the most important part. The most important part is the reflecting of God's light in not only our creativity, our creative side, but in our persistence to not only do better, but be better. And it's the light of God that shows up in the way that we keep showing up for ourselves and that we keep showing up for others. Before we close this week, I want to invite you to take a moment and really think about these things. So this is maybe perhaps where you want to hit pause and come back to it, or better yet, grab a pen and paper. I want you to take a moment and reflect on these things. Where did I start? And how far have I come? What lessons along the way have you learned thus far in your journey? And how have they shaped not only your work, but also who you are as a person? Who might be encouraged if you were to boldly share your story? If you haven't shared your story with somebody, who might be encouraged to step up and do something for themselves, to dig into their creative side, to tap into their talents? I encourage you to take time to journal one of these thoughts and even turn it perhaps into a prayer. I want you to ask God to use your journey exactly where you're at right now to inspire somebody that is either going to be planted in your life or perhaps is already in your life that maybe needs a little bit more encouragement. Where you're at right now is inspiring. Whether you know it or not, there is somebody out there that you are inspiring right now. And they need it just as much as you do, because you never know whose life your story is going to touch. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me this week on Unscrambled Faith. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great week. And just thanks for hanging out with me. And I can't wait till next time. Who knows what we're going to talk about. But in the meantime, if this inspired you, or perhaps maybe you have somebody that you know that is either looking to share their story, might need a little bit more inspiration, maybe perhaps they're on this journey of self-discovery, maybe they're a creative talent or a business owner that needs a little bit more light in their life, be the light in their life. Share this video with them, share this podcast with them. If you like what you heard, if you want to hang out with me every other week, I love to have you. Make sure and subscribe so that way you can stay in the know and be on the alert for the next video. But until next time, hope you guys have an incredible week. And as always, don't forget to unscramble your faith and find clarity in the chaos.